Now look into the investigation of Jessica Silva's case. Before the death of Jessica's former partner, James Polkinghorne and Silva were together in a relationship which lasted 4 years, 2 of which they spent living together and had a child. However, several months before the deceased's death, Jessica had left where they were staying together after years of physical, verbal, and emotional abuse from her partner and moved back in with her parents in Marrickville. On Saturday the 12th of May in 2012, both Jessica and James, along with their child, spent the night in an apartment. During an electronically recorded interview of a suspected person, arrest, conducted by the New South Wales Police Force, Silva claimed she earlier complied so that no drama would occur. During this time, Polkinghorne apologized for his actions and tried to re-establish their relationship, in which Silva refused. The very next morning, Silva left the apartment with her child to go visit her parents after agreeing to return. Polkinghorne threatened to go to her house if she didn't obey. Angry and paranoid following the breakup of his relationship, Polkinghorne had sent numerous text messages and phone calls to Silva when believing that she and the child would not return home. The content and tone of the messages were threatening and abusive. Polkinghorne arrived at Silva's home in Marrickville in ice-filled rage. Evidence as to the sequence thereafter came from Miguel and Avelino Silva. Polkinghorne punched Jessica in the face in front of her brother before he could intervene. Miguel Silva then attempted to push away Polkinghorne, which led to Miguel being punched. The two men fought together, forcing him to fall onto the street, with Mr. Polkinghorne on top of Mr. Silva and punching him. The scuffle ended when Miss Silva stabbed Polkinghorne in the chest and as a result died. The following clip shows an interview in which Miss Silva recounts the moments leading up to her stabbing of.
I can hear screams. A woman is screaming. There's about 4 or 5 people screaming at the same time, and it sounds like slaps, to the face.
And so I went back inside the house, and I was just screaming, "He's going to kill my brother! He's going to kill my brother!" So I went and got a knife. Just to kind of scare him. I wasn't thinking I was going to use it. I just grabbed the knife. And then I went back outside with it. And I could just hear him screaming, "Kill, I'm going to kill yous." And so I approached him. I went slightly closer to him. And then he looked up and he went to grab me again and to drag me back down to the ground. And he was punching my back at the same time, trying to drag me. And that's when I stabbed him.
Miss Silva was arrested on 13th of May and charged with murder. An efficient use of resources and responsiveness demonstrated by the New South Wales Police Force is positive, as the legal measures taken before the offender was charged were done as quickly as they could after receiving a call from a woman in distress. Though, if they had arrived earlier, then Mr. Polkinghorne would have been alive and Miss Silva would not have been charged. She was questioned by the police in an electronically recorded interview of a suspected person as to why she killed her partner, in which she responded, "I wasn't trying to kill him. I didn't know what I was doing. I just didn't want to be hurt by him anymore." According to an eyewitness, Jessica appeared to be hysterical. Miss Silva remained in custody until the 5th of December, when she was released on bail. The time period between the offender being charged and the trial starting was over 2 years on 12th of November 2014. Elements of the crime included actus reus, in which the unlawful action of killing another with a weapon such as a knife, and standard of proof of a fatal wound located in the chest of the victim, and mens rea, in which there was a mental intention to commit a crime. Police investigations were conducted in order to sequence the events that had occurred leading up to the death of James Polkinghorne. Recording of telephone communications by the victim were made as part of an examination into the death of Polkinghorne's associate Nicholas Arigopoulos. Justice Clifton Hoban had determined during the trial that there was circumstantial evidence that Miss Silva had the intention to inflict grievous bodily harm because she believed that her act was reasonable to protect herself and her family. There were various types of evidence collected in this case, including demonstrative evidence, digital evidence, exploratory evidence, scientific evidence, and testimonies. Evidence was legally gathered by police investigation, a post-mortem toxicology report indicating the victim was highly influenced on ice, and a psychiatric report conducted by Professor Quadrio, who concluded that Ms. Silva developed a chronic and complex post-traumatic stress disorder with features that are described as the bad woman syndrome. Ms. Silva did not give any evidence during the trial process and pleaded not guilty to murder or manslaughter, with her defense being self-defense. However, this was not enough to completely acquit her from being charged. Justice Peter Johnson ruled the force used by the offender was excessive and granted her a partial defense to murder. The nature of the crime was further considered through mitigating circumstances. As a result, the jury's verdict was that Jessica Silva is found not guilty on the charge of murder, but guilty of manslaughter for excessive self-defense under extreme circumstances. The court's jurisdiction was determined through Section 3A of the Crime Sentencing Procedure Act, 1999, which states, "The purposes for which a court may impose a sentence are to ensure the offender is adequately punished for the offence and prevent others from committing the same crime." And Section 21A of that Act, which states, "In determining the appropriate sentence for an offence, the court has to account for mitigating, aggravating, and other relevant factors that affects the seriousness of the offence." Justice Clifton Hoban detailed during the sentencing that the only aggravating factor that is relevant is the use of a knife, and as for mitigating factors, the offence was not planned, but in the heat of the moment, and there was provocation involved. Thus, by judicial discretion, Justice Clifton Hoban sentenced Jessica Silva to 18 months of imprisonment. His Honour added that Ms. Silva was of good character, unlikely to reoffend, and has good prospects of rehabilitation. An offender convicted with manslaughter could avoid jail time as, despite the offence involving the felonious taking of human life, and the repugnance with which society views such an occurrence, there are in this case exceptional circumstances which significantly ameliorate the seriousness of what occurred. This was effective as it reduced the sentence of manslaughter and achieved justice for the offender. However, this is ineffective as the balance of community and individual rights and justice for all is not achieved, as through the lack of certainty and consistency in sentencing failed to attain justice for the victim, James Polkinghorne, who had his life taken away by the offender and had all convictions quashed. In addition, the application of the rule of the law comes into question as to why Jessica Silva is granted a lesser sentence than those who previously committed the act, when evidence highlights the fact of multiple stab wounds and the perspective that this was not a case of self-defense but murder. Nevertheless, judicial discretion is important to protect against political and media pressures. The trial ended on the 16th of March 2015, lasting 1 month. The following interview by Jessica Silva's lawyer is regarding the launch of the appeal against her manslaughter charge.
Hundreds of jury trials, and I can say that they get it right most of the time. They certainly didn't get it right this time. We believe that it should have been a complete acquittal. We believe that it was a straight-out self-defense case, and that's why we're appealing. We're very, very confident that the 3 judges sitting on the Court of Criminal Appeal will agree with us.
Silva filed a notice to appeal shortly after sentence was imposed and was granted in the Court of Criminal Appeal. This is a positive as it displays the accessibility offenders have in order to appeal their sentencing. The hearing began on the 27th of June 2016. The appeal was based upon the verdict being unreasonable. With consideration of relevant cases of R v. Baden Clay, Section 6 of the Criminal Appeal Act 1912, New South Wales, the judge ruled that a criminal court of appeal is not to substitute trial by an appeal court for trial by jury. Although during the appeal, Crown Prosecutor Neil Adams argued that Ms. Silva's response was unreasonable and that the opportunity to call the police in circumstances in which she was heavily under threat was not taken. This was not enough, and the judge ultimately decided that the appeal to be accepted and all previous convictions and sentences made by Justice Clifton Hoban quashed.
There's no winners in this case. It's a tragic set of circumstances. But today's decision means everything for my client, everything. She's been emphatically cleared of any wrongdoing. Jury got it half right. They cleared her of murder but got the manslaughter verdict wrong. Today's decision sees that history corrected and preserves her legacy, which is extremely important for my client. For one day her son can read about her harrowing ordeal of brutality, and she survived.
It is evident that through the electronically recorded interview of a suspected person, that Ms. Silva is remorseful. Backed by the recorded phone calls and messages, one can agree that Ms. Silva had endured a lot of pain and suffering at the hands of a man she once fell in love with. Her actions may be unethical, but so was her abusive partner. Hence, why within society, the act of self-defense in Silva's case was not wrongfully found guilty ethically, which illustrates the extent of law balancing the rights of the victim, offenders, and society, and reflects moral and ethical standards. In the end, justice had been effectively achieved through the responsiveness, accessibility, enforceability, and resource efficiency of the courts and the police force. According to Boxer, the rate of domestic violence in New South Wales is stable, with 32.2 out of every 100,000 incidents of assault have occurred. If you have suffered or know someone who suffered from domestic violence, please do not hesitate to contact police. Thank you for joining me for tonight's episode of 60 Minutes, and I look forward to seeing you for our next episode. Goodbye.